Hello, everyone, and today I will be talking about this advent calendar from Red Racer. They did a collaboration with Parallel 49 last year, and I think it was a couple years before that as well. But this year they decided to split, so there's a Red Racer one, and there's also a Parallel 49 one. Although the Parallel 49 one seems to have been harder to get when it was still available, and it sold out a lot quicker. So I got the Red Racer one partly because it was cheaper and because it has tall cans instead of regular size cans, which is that's a cool thing. It's 12 liters of beer, right? And so yeah, it's a cool case, and it's like a different beer for every day, and all of them are never before seen beers. They created them all for the advent calendar. It's very cool. And starting out, we have day one. Now, these are in the order that I had them in my advent calendar. Other people had it in slightly different orders. I think they tried to standardize it, but they just put them in slightly different orders for some reason. But the first one for mine is called Free Heel Saison. It's a rosé, and rosé saison. It actually has a bit of wine in it, which you can taste. And I mean saisons. I love saisons. It's one of the beer types I really enjoy. And I think the wine does make a nice addition to the flavor. So it's not the best of the pack, but it's definitely an enjoyable beer. And the next one was the Icefall, and this is an Irish coffee stout, and man, it is delicious. This is one of their kind of cocktail inspired beers, which is quite a common theme in this advent calendar. And so it's based on an Irish coffee, but because of the ingredients, the fact that it is, you have the Irish, was it the Irish whiskey, the cream, all that kind of stuff. It's basically Bailey's and coffee, right? And there's already another cocktail where you take Bailey's and Irish whiskey and you throw it into a stout, which is called an Irish car bomb. And so this is basically an Irish car bomb in a can with some coffee flavors as well. And it just all combines so well. And it does taste like a cocktail in a can, but it also obviously it is a beer. And man, it's such a good beer. I would recommend this beer if you could find it outside of the advent calendars, but yeah, I don't think you can. But yeah, it's such a good beer. After that, we have the Winterhalter, which is a wit beer, and it's a really good beer. I mean, wit beers. I love wit beers. Again, it's just one of those kind of beers that I really enjoy. But is it any better than the average wit beer? I'm not sure about that, but it's a really good beer, and so I would definitely recommend it. If I could, I would recommend a lot of these if I could. But yeah, it's a good wit beer. After that, I had the V Trail, and this is a barrel aged IPA, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because usually, like, usually you wouldn't barrel age an IPA. Like, IPAs and barrel aging aren't things that usually go together because of just how the flavors interact. But surprisingly, this was actually quite good. The flavors combined well in a way that you wouldn't really expect, and I'd say it's a good beer overall. I wouldn't buy it again if I saw it, but I enjoyed it. It was fun to have in the pack. And after that, I had the Tape to Tape Gin and Lime Lager, and this is a good beer. I mean, it makes sense that it would be a good beer. It's a lager of gin and lime. Like, people put lime in lagers all the time. What is it? Budweiser sells one. Corona sells one. Like, that's a normal thing to do. And adding gin in there as well, it adds a bit of extra flavor in there, which is neat. It's a cocktail you could just make up on your own pretty easily, or just add some gin to like a lime Bud Light or Corona, and you'd probably get a fairly similar in flavor. However, since it's Red Racer and they actually make a good lager, it means that it tastes better than Corona or Budweiser, and that just makes things all the better. So yeah, definitely a good beer. And if you can't have it their version, you could just make your own. I would recommend actually finding a Red Racer lager to do it with, or at least a decent lager in your area. After that, the next one was Free Ride, which is a smoked sea salt Belgian ale, which sounds like it could be trash. Like, smoked sea salt in a beer doesn't sound like the best thing. Like, I've actually had another one that was like coriander and salt, and it was gross. I didn't like it at all. But this one actually worked out well. I thought this was good. Belgian ales I enjoy anyway, but also, yeah, smoked salt is quite a particular flavor, and you wouldn't necessarily expect it to go well in a beer, but it did really work out in this case. After that, I had the Ski Lift, which is a green tea lager. And unlike the other lager, I didn't enjoy this one quite as much, honestly. You can get what they're going for. Like, I understand it, but green tea in a beer, it's strange. And it's not bad, but it's not a great beer. I wouldn't really recommend it. And after that, we had the Bundle Up. And this is another strange beer. It's sweet potato and maple, which are things that don't really go together in the first place. But adding them to an ale makes it go together even less, honestly. It's not bad either, but it's probably the worst of the pack. It's not very good. At least it's not bland. It's interesting, but it's not a good beer. After that, I had the Torpor, which is it's a great beer. It's a barrel-aged imperial porter, and it tastes fantastic. And now imperial porters are usually good. They don't not always good, but they're usually good. However, I've had some gross imperial porters before, although I was kind of like new to strong beers at that time. But yeah, this one, it just tastes delicious. It's they just do everything right, and the barrel aging, unlike the IPA, it kind of was a little off on, but this one it was like right nailed down. It was like you can tell, okay, that's a beer that really works well to barrel age. And so yes, that one's a really good beer. And after that is a Hurry Hard lager. Now, I've also heard that apparently this one's considered to be a Kolsch. I'm not entirely sure. A Kolsch is a type of lager, so that does make sense. And it is a really good lager. It tastes really good. And, there's a lot of lagers out there, and consider this is like a kind of more standard lager, like it's not specialty lager. It's actually quite good, which is good. And after that, we have the Switch, which is a Graf. And a Graf actually has an interesting origin story, as apparently it came from Stephen King, that he invented this type of beer. And he made it by, it was that in one of his novels, the main characters really like drinking this Graf, which is where you take an unfinished lager and an unfinished cider and you let them ferment together. And so what you have is, It's similar to a snake bite, where you just take a finished lager and a finished cider and just pour them together into a glass. It's an interesting version because they're actually brewed together. It's just a super cool thing, and it tastes really good. I would say it's even better than a snake bite, but and there are other drafts out there, but this one's good. Apparently, it is just brewers who are fans of Stephen King who decided to bring it to light, which is cool. After that, I tried the Shinny, which is a strawberry and cream ale, which is quite sweet. I liked it. It's not for everyone though. Like, it is strawberry and cream. It's kind of it's a dessert beer, definitely. I wouldn't say it's as good of a dessert beer as an Nanaimo Bar Porter from Vancouver Island, because that one is just fantastic dessert beer. And this one's definitely more on the sweeter side, and yeah, it's still a good beer though. I liked it, but it's not something I would like necessarily recommend going after. And after that, I tried the Bosaw, which is it's a dark and stormy ale, which it works because like a dark and stormy, it's rum and ginger beer. Sometimes we'll use dark rum, sometimes it's spiced rum, but yeah, the ginger beer is important, and it tastes very gingery. You can taste a bit of the rum, but yeah, it's a really good beer. Well, I've tried a ginger ale before, not a ginger ale like a pop. I've tried lots of those, but I've tried an actual ale that's ginger flavored, and it really works out well. And this one tastes kind of similar to that, but you can also tell that it's not just a ginger ale. Like, there's a bit of extra flavor in there from the rum, which is cool. And after that, I had the Whiteout Basil Ale, and this was definitely one of the stranger ones. Like, a basil ale, it sounds weird. Like, why would you do that? And the basil flavor isn't prominent. It's very smooth beer. Like, it tastes. You can tell there's a bit of basil in there, but not super heavy. But it's an ale, and ales are always good. So it's definitely better than the green tea lager in that sense, because it doesn't like have like this weird flavor in there. It's very subtle. And after that, I had the Snow Racer, which is a Dunkel, which is it's a darker beer, German style dark beer, and I love Dunkels, and this one just goes right up my alley. It's delicious. Definitely would recommend if I could. And after that was Snow Tracks. This is a Mexican hot chocolate stout. Now, chocolate stouts are obviously common. Hot chocolate stouts there's a couple of them now. And a Mexican hot chocolate stout is a take on that. And it's a really neat take, because it's not just chocolate and it's not just hot chocolate, but you also have a bit of spice in it. And it's not a very strong spice, but it is a slightly spicy beer. I've had some other spiced beers before. I've had the Hot Night in Mexico, which is just, it's way too spicy. Another one was an India Ale, which I've had, and that spice is more subtle, and it was just delicious. This spice, it just works out so well. It's such a beautiful beer. After that, I had the Sleigh Ride, or the Negroni Red Ale, which is another one of these like cocktail inspired ones. It was decent. It wasn't amazing though, but yeah, it was decent beer. After that, had the Tubester, which is a brewed IPA, and it's another good one. I like the brewed IPA. I like brewed IPAs in general, or just IPAs in general. But this one, it's cool because it's cool because it's from the pack. It's not like it's a specialty brewed IPA, but it's a good beer. And after that, had the Corkscrew Mimosa Saison, and mimosa, like, it has some orange in it, and so you can taste the orange in it, which is awesome. It tastes really good. So yeah, that's a good beer. And after that, I had the Alcho, which is a Dortmunder, or a German lager, which means that it's actually probably the blandest out of all of them. And because it's just kind of, a generic kind of lager. Like the Hurry Hard was a better lager. But this one is not like it's a bad beer, but it's just plain. And kind of a filler of a beer, honestly. And after that, I had the Snowblind Whiskey Sidecar Ale, which was a really delicious beer. Really good. You can taste a bit of whiskey. Whiskey Sidecar is two things that mixed up, but yeah, it's another one of the cocktail inspired ones, it's a good beer. And after that, had the Oat in a Boat Hazy Pale Ale, which is actually an oat flavored. Well, not flavored. It's like it's made out of oats, which is really cool. It works really well. And after that, I had the Gangline Raspberry Stout, which it's a really good beer. I mean, fruit flavored stouts, they're not common, but every time I've tried them, they're just so good. And this is no exception. It is another delicious fruit stout, and yeah, definitely a good beer. And the final one of the full pack is the Thor's Hammer, which is, it's quite a heavy beer. It's 11.5% alcohol, which makes it this half-liter can sort of like a bottle of wine. And so you might want to share it. I shared it with my dad. But this one, it's not any Thor's Hammer, because they do sell the Thor's Hammer normally. But this Thor's Hammer is a port barrel aged Thor's Hammer. And so it's a barley wine that's actually been aged in a port barrel, which is such a cool idea, and it works so well. It's so good. There's some, it's like with high alcohol beer, you can get some good ones and get some bad ones, but this one, it just works fantastically. So yeah, that's all the beers of the set. If you can find ones that haven't been sold yet, go ahead and try them. But I would recommend it, but don't look too hard because they're probably all sold out. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope to see you again next time.